Hi, good evening. I'm Carl Schilling, and I'm so thankful you're here with me this evening. Real quickly, I just want to get you up to date. The Advocacy Network is something that I created a long while ago to help eliminate all forms of financial victimization. And we do that through creating awareness, providing financial literacy workshops, which are always free. Tonight, we're going to do one digitally. And lastly, helping people just like you become financially independent. So tonight, please take some notes, get out a notepad. I'm going to be able to give you a lot of good information this evening, and we're going to get started. So figure it's going to take us 30 to 40 minutes. Normally we do these live, and those presentations take anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half, but that's because we get live participation, and quite a few people asking questions and different things. So tonight, sadly, it's me just giving you the information, but please take in as much as you can, and then we're going to give you some contact information, and we can go from there. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to discuss the overall concepts of financial literacy, which is very, very important. We live in a nation where 95% of our population who reaches 65 and older, they never, ever get anything better than financial dependence. Only 5% of the population reaches financial dependence, financial independence. So that's quite a poor track record. And we want to show people how to attain financial independence. It doesn't have to be that way. It's been that way for hundreds of years. So we're going to talk to you, about how money is perceived, about debt, and about credit, because they're not the same thing. So those are our topics for tonight. Now, as we get started, as I mentioned, the Advocacy Network, we've been going on now for maybe close to 7 years. And to date, we have served over 12,000 people, and we've saved them $9.5 million and counting. Now, we've developed through the New Paradigm Producer Group a financial concierge platform, and that is to have financial professionals help people attain financial independence, okay? And that's really what the financial concierge job is all about. We do that with a dashboard of solutions, and we provide all kinds of guides to financial independence. And once again, a little bit about me. I am a certified financial education instructor, through the National Financial Educators Council. I've authored several books. Most recently, we did the Middle Class Millionaire Plan, which you can find at Amazon. But You Might Be Getting Scammed When was how to inoculate and insulate yourself against scams, fraud, and predatory sales tactics. That was our premise for the Advocacy Network. I've worked with such people as Tom Hopkins and Brian Tracy. I was one of the first certified sales coaches for Lead the Field, Earl Nightingale's magnificent self-development program. I've worked with such real estate operations, Lennar Homes, Exit Realty, Century 21, Remax, Coldwell Banker. If I didn't work directly, I worked in the format of a consultant for them. On the other side, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, Lincoln Financial Group, MetLife, Prudential, Northwestern Mutual, just to name a few. So I've got over 40 years experience, and quite frankly, I'm at the point in life where it's about a mission, and that mission is to see that people become financially independent. Now, basically, what we start with, just so you know, we start in an arena here where, like most people, we started unaware, aware, awareness, and then wisdom. Now, unaware means that you don't know what you don't know. I mean, a person sitting in an unaware portion of their life has yet to understand that there's something that they should know that they don't know. So they're not even aware yet. Okay, now, when one becomes aware, they then get to know that, okay, there's something I don't know, and I want to learn that. I want to find out about it. Now, when they do that and they're able to use it, they become what we would call in a state of awareness. And after being very, very knowledgeable and gaining some experience, they enter into a pathway of wisdom. So really what starts to happen is it begins with learning, then a focus, then taking action on a result, and then ultimately having awareness. So these are very, very important cycles that you want to be involved in. Now, why is it that only 95% are financially dependent and only 5% are financially independent? Why is that? Well, the biggest difference is focus and action. Okay, it all starts with the premise of you yourself. And then from there, what it is you focus on, you're going to get more of. This is just one of the first laws of psychology. You know, that which you continue to repeat and continue to do based on your focus is that what you reinforce. So it's important to identify where your focus is before you take action. Because if you're unfocused or if you're focused in the wrong areas, then every action you take from there is going to be sadly detrimental towards your future success. So now with interest, let's look at the cycle, the normal cycle for everybody. We live in a society where we work, we earn, we spend, we borrow, and we pay. Now that's everybody. Different types of work, obviously, but different types of earnings. But we work, we earn, we spend, we borrow, and we pay. Now the penalty for the borrowing cycle is interest. And there's only two things can happen with interest. One, you're either paying it or you're earning it. Now, the 95% who never become financially independent, they pay interest their entire lifetime because they get used to the cycle called amortization. They get comfortable in amortization because they view it as a comfortable monthly payment. They don't see it as a long-time deterioration of their financial future. It's a lack of vision. It's a focus that they don't just understand. They just are not yet knowledgeable about the end result until they actually get to the end. By then, it's too late because it's been like a little Pac-Man following you and eating up all your future wealth. Now, those who get to earn interest are the ones that accumulate wealth, and in accumulating wealth and assets, capital, they basically become financially independent. So here's some of the preconceptions of money and some of the misconceptions. Here's the situation. You have an internal bias. We all do. And that internal bias is based on a perception. Now, that perception ultimately will turn into your reality, but that perception is based on your own internal bias, which has come from the beliefs and values that you have gained over the years about money. Now, you know, the core issue would be to take out a piece of paper and write down, you know, what do I believe to be true about money? Okay, and then just keep writing down until you can't think anymore, but you'll get all of it there. Now, those beliefs formulate your values, and your values become embedded because values are even stronger than beliefs. Values are the foundations of your belief. They're the bricks that are laid into the mortar. And because of that value, that is going to determine how you perceive money. And that perception is going to alter and change all of the decisions you make about money. So unless you are able to core down and find out what the internal biases are and what it is about money right now that is a myth or what is false in your beliefs and values about money, you will never be able to change the reality and thereby become financially independent. Let's look at a couple of the fallacies about money. First of all, there is a great deal of misunderstanding about money. The first issue about money is to become aware of what money is, what money truly is. Well, money is actually a value. It has actually got a sense of value. So, in the format of money, in the very, very early stages of civilization, a cow, a pig, a chicken, they had value. And because they had value, they were a form of money. They were a form of currency. Now, behind the currency is money. The currency itself is not money. Behind it is money because money is the value. But we see it incorrectly because we have what's called a fiat currency. We have a currency that's paper-driven. It's a promise. It's an IOU. The only tangible value of that paper is an IOU from the United States government. And basically, we do not truly have anything backing that up in the format of money, but we perceive it as such. So we've got to understand the difference between currency and money before we can understand the real truth of how to become financially independent, because it's not about currency. It's about money. So once we are able to identify and become aware of that, we can change some of our decisions, okay? Those decisions are how you manage money. So it's not so much having money, it's how you manage the money you do have. It's about identifying how to accumulate money. It's about identifying how to find increased forms of income. As we always like to tell people, you have to have 3 forms of income in order to become really, truly financially independent. And that requires direct, residual, and passive income. These are the things that will make you successful, which ultimately in our world is financially independent. So we can look at money, and money we have in the format of really, it's sort of a 3D world. See, we work, we earn, we spend, we borrow, and we pay. Now, if you notice all those things going on at the payment cycle, you notice that because we are basically compounding negatively. We are creating a negative compound interest rate for ourselves because we are compounding interest. And that's a payment. We are not compounding earning interest. We're compounding paying interest. And basically what happens is that when we borrow money, and we all need to understand this, we're borrowing value. Remember now, we're not borrowing currency. We're getting currency from the bank. We're getting currency from the finance company, but we are borrowing money, which is future income from the stage of me in the future, you in the future you who is not here yet in that timeline in 3D. That person, that entity in the future is the one who is giving you the future income now. And the penalty you're paying is the interest that you're going to pay. And you pay that penalty into the future. You notice the interest payments, they're coming from the past and they're going into the future. They are compounding because we're continuing to pay. So the question is, how deep a hole do you want? Or do you want to climb out? Start climbing out, which means that you get to the cycle where you start to reduce debt so that you can earn interest and not pay interest. Now let's talk about that concept of debt, okay? First of all, there's an interesting confliction there. There's knowledge and then there's emotion. Okay, now emotion triggers many, many poor decisions financially. But debt itself, the nature of debt is it's neutral. It's neutral. It's not positive, negative, it's neutral. Debt is basically a personal decision on what you're doing. And identifying a smart decision about money is to come to the conclusion of how do I handle debt? What am I using debt for? And what does debt mean in my ability to leverage, to create things, to create a business per se? Remember, direct, residual, and passive income. So debt has a very positive factor in it if it's used properly. But unfortunately, most people don't seem to really understand what debt truly is. So the knowledge is missing. And then the decisions become predominantly emotional. So let's take a look again. Work, earn, spend, borrow, pay. There's the cycle. That's the life cycle. That's what everybody does. So let's talk about the good versus the bad with debt. Okay, well, what is good debt? Well, good debt is leverage. Good debt means I can leverage future monetary assets, and I can accumulate more of that through the format of leverage. So I can put out a little bit of cash now and use a debt source for the other cash. But if that cash is being used properly, I'm earning. And if I'm earning, hopefully I'm earning more than I'm paying in penalties. I'm earning more than I'm paying in interest. That's the best thing. Now, the other side of that is other people's money. Okay, everybody says, you know, the big secret to success is using other people's money. Well, it's really not. The big secret to success is using other people's experience, OPE, way more valuable than other people's money. Okay, but the issue is whether you are paying interest or you're earning interest. And a lot of times we use the car loan as an example because when people purchase a car, they, in their mind, are purchasing an asset, but you're not. You're basically purchasing a form of transportation that's a liability. That form of transportation is never, ever an asset, okay? Because the car is never worth what you paid for the car. The minute you drive the car, let's say you get a $20,000 car, you walk off the lot, but you only put no money down. So you took the highest possible payment possible. You financed the whole $20,000 on that car loan. And inside the car loan is hidden all the interest. They don't really tell you the rate. You never really know the true rate, okay? But let's just say that you walk off the lot, ride off the lot with that car. Now, the minute the car leaves the lot, it's lost almost 20% of its value. So the car that you just paid 20 for, if you turned right around and came right back in, they'd give you 16. So you'd already lost $4,000, okay? Not to count the interest penalty and all the payments you're going to make. So most people then decide that I'm going to take a 6-year car loan instead of a 4-year car loan or a 3-year car loan because the monthly payment's more comfortable. It's lower. I can afford that. I can get more car this way, okay? But at the end of 6 years, I will have paid probably $32,000, $33,000 for a $20,000 asset when I first got it. So I'm almost 50, 60% more in the hole than I was when I started. Now I'm going to go back and trade it in, and what are they going to give me? Well, they're going to give me that $13,000, $11,000, $10,000, $9,000, okay? That's what they're going to give me on that trade-in. They're going to put me in a bigger car, another payment, and then we're on to the same game. So this is a very poor decision at that point about debt. Now, credit is a totally another issue. Most people seem to think that credit is the same as debt. They're not. Credit is not the same as debt. Credit is simply the ability to create debt. It's your golden invitation to ransack the future of you, your ultimate future, or enrich future you, depending on how you use credit. This is not to say you shouldn't have credit, but once again, it determines on how the use is. Is it used for the right purposes? Is it used for leverage and other abilities? Or is it used simply to accumulate things that have no true ultimate extrinsic value? They may have intrinsic value, but they don't have anything extrinsic. Okay? So again, good versus bad credit is, good credit would be, basically, once again, doing things. It could be expanding a business. It could be, increasing asset base or anything of that nature. That would capital gains. That's wonderful. Okay, so that's good. So that's leveraging and growing credit lines to create business, expand business, entrepreneurial opportunity. That's good. Bad credit is just the use of getting things that I would like to have, and I'm going to get them now because I have no other way to get them. And I'm going to just pound up the credit and pay the interest, and it doesn't make a difference to me because I'm just going to pay that interest for the rest of my life. Now, every dollar in interest you pay, you must understand, it's a dollar you never get to use for future leverage, and it's a dollar you never get to use for future accumulation. It's a loss. So if you look at the work, earn, spend, borrow, you get to see the cycle where borrowing and spending are connected. Borrowing and spending are connected because they are almost one and the same thing, because every time you borrow from future you tend to spend it. That's what you decide to do with it, okay? And from that cycle, you're going to pay losses. You're going to pay the losses right all the way up through future you, because you're not going to be able to earn any income on the interest, because basically you're not earning interest, you're paying interest. You're amortizing your future away. That's really what amortization means. It means that you're giving away your future. Now, the credit record, because once again, credit is your invitation to be able to take on debt. So there can be no debt without credit worthiness. So basically, it's a judgment. Your credit record is a judgment of you. It's a scorecard. And it's a scorecard that's very, very important. It's a scorecard that's going to need to constantly keep upkeep. It's going to constantly need good, because here's the thing. The better your credit record is, the lower the interest rates you pay over time, the better leverage you get, the better opportunities you get. Everything, opportunity costs go down. Everything is lower because you have a higher credit rating. So the three records of record are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And they use something called FICO scores. Those scores range anywhere from 300 to 850. And basically, it's very convoluted. It's not that simple the way they do this, because they don't want you to know how they do it, because if they did, and I don't even think they know how they do it, I think it's just a coin flip at some points. But here's how they say they determine the score. There's certain factors: your payment history, how you pay on time, timely, or up to 30 days late, not beyond 30 days late. That's your history. That represents 35% of your score. The amount you owe is called your utilization ratio. That ratio of your utilization, the amount you owe versus the amount you've used, represents 30% of your score. So that's the age of and then the ratio of. Now, the length of your credit history, how long you've had credit history, it counts for 15% of your score. And then you end up with hard versus soft inquiries. So if you have a lot of hard inquiries, that affects 10% of your score, new credit and inquiries. So the more inquiries you make, the more they damage your credit score, okay? And then lastly, the types of credit that you have in use account for another 10% of your record. Those types of accounts, whether they're rotating or they're one-time, loans that you're paying down, and then once it's paid down, it's gone. The type of credit you use reflects 10% of your score. So on credit planning, what you really need to do is start to learn how to plan for large purchases, home and auto and investments of these types. This way you can start to identify and plan with your credit record and recognize how to make sure that before you go and inquire, before you get started, you have the best credit humanly possible, because you know all of the factors. You put all those factors together. You've got your utilization down to 15 to 25%. You pay on time, or you stay within 30 days late. You don't go 31 days or more late, okay? You spread out the timeline of opening new accounts, and basically you get yourself a nice 6-month window to look at before you move forward on these big type of purchases. So you don't just snap your finger, move in and do something, because it's like a gear shift. Every other piece, every movement of one piece affects the movement of all the other pieces. Now, why should you have credit repair, or in this case, we talk about financial fitness? Well, financial fitness requires the fact that you have the best credit worthiness that you possibly can. And most importantly, the biggest part of credit repair is very simple. And by the way, a lot of the scams today are in the credit repair arena, because there's a lot of lies and misrepresentation and a lot of misinformation. But you can eliminate inaccurate and erroneous records that oftentimes are sitting on your credit. You went down to the furniture store and you got a $3,000 credit line. And Canes, let's say you went to Canes. So you got $3,000, you bought the furniture. 3 years later, you paid off the Canes, but now the account is still sitting there active, okay? It's $3,000. It's not showing that you've used it. It's no utilization, but it's on your record. It's affecting your score. So it's either something you close or you get off your record. So those kind of things are there. There's a lot of obsolete things that are 7 years from the last transaction. So those things are obsolete. They shouldn't be there anymore. But the creditors don't do this. They don't clean up your record for you. They don't bother with it. They don't need to. And for any bankruptcy, regardless what someone tells you, it's going to be 10 years from the last transaction, period. That's it. Bankruptcy is going to show for 10 years. Should never show beyond the 10 years. You should have it removed right away at that point, but it should never show up. And then occasionally there's things on your credit record that are unverifiable, which you should get off, because they're unverifiable. Now, the process is simply letters that go up to the credit bureaus, written properly, written correctly, according to the laws, and then the credit bureau then goes to the creditor, the one, and says that there has been there has been an objection made here on this record. Now, the creditor is the one that has to dispute it back, or validate that it's legitimate, or most of the time they ignore it. Once they ignore it after 30 days, they ignore it, it automatically is set up for deletion because they did not respond. Okay, it's a simple process. Now, on our credit repair, we like to do something for everybody, and we use the Financial Education Services. We use the FES Protection Plan, and we use it as basically a financial fitness plan. Now, you can do all these things on your own. There's no doubt you can. But the issue you have to ask yourself is, if I do it on my own, how much is my time worth? how much knowledge do I have? How much knowledge do I have to go find? And if I do it, will I do it correctly? And even though I know what I'm doing, maybe I still do something incorrectly and I wasted a lot of time on top of that. So really what 14 years old, FES is over 14 years old. They've helped presently over 250,000 people. They've removed over a million deletions on credit records. They've got repair, legal, monitoring, ID theft, living trust, wills, power of attorneys, a financial lockbox, and notice I had debt reduction software in green. It's all in the one plan. Now, our financial concierges help you on the debt reduction software side to make sure that they can help you get out of debt as fast as humanly possible by simply reallocating or redistributing what you're doing now, not by you finding any new money. Now, again, on the do-it-yourself side, you know, why? Why do it yourself? I mean, the letters need to comply with the law, which is fine. You can learn that and you could figure out how to get that done. But you got to follow up. You got to follow up. You got to follow up all the time. And if you need legal help, you're going to have to go get an attorney. And you're going to have to pay for that. Okay, then there's research time, the execution time of you following up and making sure everything. And then you got to ask yourself, how much is your time worth? You know, is your time worth $10 an hour? Is your time worth $100 an hour? What is your time worth? Because again, that is going to impact the cost factor for you to get these kind of things done. Now, all this is done for you. It's got very limited effort on your side. It's not a matter of you do nothing, but it's got very limited effort on your side. And you just have to do what you're told, sort of follow the bouncing ball. And it's $89 a month. I mean, that's it. That's what happens. And we've got ways to even waive the $89 a month. And we would talk to you about that, your financial concierge directly, okay? But if you look at the financial fitness assessment, we basically see what kind of shape you're in, okay? And by finding out what kind of shape you're in, we take this little assessment, which helps you become aware and gain some awareness. We can email this to you, no problem. And you take this assessment, and it's very simple. It's the first part of the assessment is just looking over what's going out, you know, what kind of dollars are going out on your course, all right? And then you got your total estimated monthly expenses and plus or minus what's left at the end, you know, the so-called discretionary income side of things, okay? The second part of the assessment is basically just asking if, you know, what currently do you have debt? Do you have any kind of budgeting or debt payoff tool helping you right now? Do you feel you're on track to be debt-free, you know, at this point in your life? Or are you just comfortable continuing to make the payments and seeing all the future dollars go away, right? Do you have any assets right now, you know, assets that can be identified? Do you have any minor children that maybe need to be cared for if you aren't able to do so? Do you have a will, trust, or powers of attorney in place to protect your assets and children? Is your personal and financial information organized and readily available in case of an emergency? You could find out where, you know, exactly what your bank account numbers are, exactly where your bank accounts are, exactly what your life insurance policies, your auto policies, your homeowner policies, all of these things that are important, your wills, your trusts, are they all in one area where you could find them immediately? Do you have identity theft protection? Not so much the side that's protecting you from losing your identity, but this the most important part of how to get your identity back. That's the part of identity theft protection that's most important. Do you presently have a 750 plus credit score? And that, if you do, that's saving you the most money and giving you the most control. But somewhere between 750 and 850, there's still differences. Okay. Do you have a credit monitoring, you know, an alert system in place? This identifies when maybe somebody's using your card fraudulently. Maybe some things are happening. These are things you need to be aware of. Okay. Do you have any derogatory items on your credit reports that may be affecting your credit rating? Most people have no idea on that. None. Most people don't even get their credit record until they actually go to do something. They don't get a credit record every single year. They don't check. They don't look at things. That's why having a plan like this keeps you well in tow. Having a plan like this will keep you identified and knowing exactly what's on your credit record and exactly what's happening on a regular basis. Do you have $100,000 or more in life insurance? Okay? Was the financial fitness assessment you just completed helpful, and did it provide a realistic analysis of your current financial shape? So we would be glad to email that to you. You can take that. You can look at it. You can get some awareness. But here's the situation. You have to struggle. You have to set up a financial strategy. If you're going to become financially independent, you have to be aware and understand money. You have to understand the difference between debt and credit. You have to understand the proper planning and strategies to make sure that you effectively make the smartest decisions about money possible. All those things are capable of being done. And it's not what everybody thinks it is. It's not a discipline. It's not being handcuffed. It's a matter of changing the way you think. It's changing your mindset. It's changing what you perceive to be true or not true about money. And it's about gaining the 3 golden rules of financial independence, which I would be glad to send to you. All you have to do is email and ask or call me. There's my number, 321-947-3220. If you're ready to get started today and move on with the FES protection plan, or you want to talk to me more about that, that'll be great. But if you're ready to go and you just want to get set up and then we talk, you can go to www.fesconnect.net/K Schilling with the capital K and S, okay? But you can go right there, or whoever invited you here. You don't need to come to my link. Somebody invited you to this webinar this evening who's a financial concierge with us. That is who you would go to on the link, okay? We'll make sure that we always protect our financial concierges, and we do see quite a few people coming in and out of our workshops and our digital workshops who come based on the recommendations and based on other people bringing them in. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this gives you a renewed perspective. This is just a small piece, by the way. This is not making you a rocket scientist on financial literacy, but by all means, I think this is enough to shake you and give you some objectivity and show you the right pathway. And that's all we want to do, because we work with you every step of the way. You will not be left alone. We will work with you every step of the way to make sure that you attain financial independence. Thanks so much. Again, I'm Carl Schilling, 321-947-3220. Don't be shy. Call me. Be glad to answer any questions. Be glad to discuss any of your situation. And if you have investment scenarios that you're not confident with, or you're worried about, or people are coming to you with investment things, call us. We will help you. I told you we saved $9.5 million to date. So again, we want to get you in that financial fitness plan, though. That's your first step to financial independence. Thanks again. Have a magnificent evening, and it's been a pleasure.